Richie, one thing we didn't talk about in the last segment was how hard do you think it's going to be this year for Mike Norvell to hold on to guys that are on his roster, right? How, obviously some of your bigger difference makers are gone after this year. I can't imagine that you get Farmer back. I can't imagine that you get Pat Payton back. I don't know that he's ready, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Daryl Jackson left. I think you get Marvin Jones Jr. back. I don't know how excited you are about that or aren't. It would not surprise me if Azariah Thomas goes to the NFL. I think Fintrell Cypress is out of eligibility. I think Shaheem Brown has probably cost himself some money, so he may come back. You're losing at least 3 pieces of your offensive line. Not that that's been great, but the development behind it has certainly been worse. So you're going to lose Smith, Washington. The Scott experiment will finally be over. And who's on the other side? Byers. And then I think you lose. I think Richie Leonard is going to try and get another year too. So I do think he'll come back. But yeah, your most reliable wide receiver this year, Ja'Kai Douglas, is out of eligibility. I think Toa Philly's out of eligibility. I think he's gone, although you do have Cam Davis kind of backing him up. And so you're going to lose a lot of guys just out of eligibility and going to the NFL. But then I assume that you're only going to keep one of your freshman quarterbacks. Like I assume one of them will transfer. I don't have any info on that. That's just kind of me like putting 2 and 2 together. How many of your young guys are going to leave? How many guys are going to get not tampered with, but just, no, it is tampering. How many guys are going to get coerced to come into the portal? Mike not only has to, figure out a way to convince other coaches and other recruits to come in, but he's going to have to figure out a way to keep his own players here that he's got on the roster now. And so I don't know. Are you, what's your concern level there? Do you expect young guys to leave? Do you expect difference makers to leave? Do you, if you were promised all this and you committed to a 13-0 team and they go 2-10, are you sticking around? Now obviously Florida State can sell playing time. They got plenty of that to go around. But what's your concern level with guys leaving for the portal? Get right back to chatting with Richie, but if you work in online marketing or maybe you work in web development, you need a web host that you and your clients can depend on. Rapid SEO Host is the top choice for professionals that are serious about results. They have over 15 years of experience. The Rapid SEO Host team delivers lightning fast load times. They have great marketing expertise and really personalized services to help you outpace your competition. As SEO specialists, which is right there in the name, they know how to boost your Google rankings and get your clients' websites in front of more people. Plus, when you join their affiliate program, you get paid to host your sites with no expiration date. They also offer maintenance and marketing packages, which gives you access to experts who can help take your business to the next level. Make Rapid SEO Host your partner today. Sign up at the link in our description. I appreciate Rapid SEO Host for their support.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned that we're going to lose any difference makers because we don't have any. So that's first.
That's terrible.
But I could see guys that have potential, like a Cam Davis. Not that they would come calling, but if Kirby said, "Hey, you made the wrong choice. We got a spot for you at Georgia," if I was Cam Davis, I would go. I agree. Either Luke or Brock will probably leave. Again, no inside information. Just everybody wants to start, especially by next year. I think both Brock and Luke will expect to be a starting quarterback. So that may be a spring transfer as opposed to a December transfer. And, I don't know. Like, who else do you have? Like, not counting guys that take their shot at the NFL, but, when you're 1-6, high school coaches, and Jimbo would tell me this back when I was in school, and that when he was very media friendly and would hang around after press conferences, he would say he would always focus on recruiting at high schools who win at the highest level, who win state championships, who win multiple state championships, because you're getting a winner. And that's not something Florida State has right now. There's no winners here. So even if Kirby said that, yeah, Cam Davis, he's kind of good, but man, that team is terrible. I'm not sure about him. That record, that 2-10, 3-9 record that Florida State's going to finish with is going to impact the ability. I don't think you'll see anybody transfer up. like to a better program, like a Ohio State, a Georgia, a Alabama. Now you'll probably lose some guys to, like a Georgia Southern or a USF or something along those lines, a UCF. But those are guys you don't really care if you lose them if that's where they end up. But yeah, I just don't know who on this roster would be highly sought after, who would be coming back to play college football next year.
Yeah, I mean, the worry for me would be some of the young guys that have showed some promise. And
Yeah,
I've not been given any info on this. There's nobody's name that I would say like, oh, this guy is somebody to watch out for. But like, you know, like you don't think like a Charles Lester could get tampered with by like a Colorado or a Georgia or something like that? Like I've not been told Charles. Like I'm just throwing a
yeah,
name out, right? But like and I will say Florida State's recruited the secondary extremely well. You don't think
yeah,
Landon Thomas could get
yeah. He's
tampered
someone
with?
good for sure.
There, there's some
Again,
guys.
Georgia would be something to be concerned
Yeah,
about there.
you know, Amari Williams, Miami wanted the heck out of him, and they'll spend any dollar available to go get guys. Now, I'm not
Yeah,
saying any of these guys go. Like nobody's told me anything about Charles or Landon. I'm just trying to point out some of your better players.
yeah.
You've signed a lot of blue chips on the offensive line. Now you haven't developed them very well, but
Lucas
you're
Stevens could
telling
be
me that
someone.
Simmons, Jonathan Daniels, you're telling me some of those guys wouldn't get tampered with and promised more.
Mel. Yeah,
Yeah. So again, I'm not saying that it necessarily happens. I'm not saying that any of those guys are ones that need to go or will go. Sorry. You know, the film that Juice Cryers put out, the Blake Nicholsons of the world, do I think that it happens? No, not necessarily for any of those guys. But would it shock me? I mean, there's some solid guys that are not going to
well,
like,
Blake Nicholson of the Pacific Northwest, where he's from, if Oregon and Phil Knight say, "Hey, we got a spot for you here on the number one team in the country," yeah, that's a possibility.
yeah, Elijah Moore, your
Information,
best wide
but
receiver, commit from last year. I mean, Lewayne McCoy, people were saying he wasn't going to finish in our class anyway last year. Like if Miami reaches out there, you don't think they could maybe flip McCoy? Like I don't know. I don't know what his relationship is with Mike Norvell, but you get rid of his coach, right? We're talking about all these coaching changes. Hopefully, you get rid of his coach or this guy's coach or that guy's coach, and somebody else offers him a big bag, and you're like, well, the team stinks. My coach is gone and I'm getting more money somewhere else. Like that's what worries me. Now I'm not trying to put like a panic out. And I just named 18 players and I'm not saying that they all transfer, right? Like I'm just kind of giving you the young guys that I would be pretty devastated if a lot of them did or a few of them did. And so that's
yeah,
where my concern level is maybe a little bit higher. I mean, we don't think certain coaches are very good, but these kids still committed to them and they like them personally. And they would be upset if coaches got let go, and they will be upset when coaches get let go. Like that's just the nature of the business. Now, I do think the kids do understand that it is a business at times, and they ultimately committed to Mike Norvell's program. But yeah, I think there is some concern. I don't think it's everyone's leaving, but Florida State's also going to be in a position this year where they had to overspend to keep guys and they didn't, Sonone did that really, really good article on Noles 247 about how they had to pay too much because they were slow in the portal, and then they had to pay too much to retain certain members of this roster. And so they're a very overpaid but very well paid roster. And then they had to overpay for some recruits because their recruiters aren't very good. And so you had to do that last year. I don't know that you can afford to do that again. If some of these guys that I just mentioned get offers elsewhere, are you going to get yourself back in the same position by overpaying for a second year in a row? I mean, some of them you're going to have to, but I don't think you can do that with everybody. So I don't know. My concern level is a little higher. Maybe yours is too after me kind of painting a nightmare scenario for you, but I do think there's a path to where it becomes incredibly difficult for Florida State to retain some of its better talent.
yeah, and it's certainly possible. And it, unfortunately, we are in an era now where some of these players, they are able to hold collectives and coaching staffs hostage. We saw that on the defensive line the past 2 years, and that will continue to happen. And some hard decisions will have to be made. Do we want to keep this person or let them go? And you're going to lose players that have promise. Maybe not someone who's proven it at the highest level. I doubt a Joshua Farmer or a Pat Payton leave and go to another school, but I think their decision to try their shot at the NFL is certainly a lot higher after a season like this. It'd be different if you went 10-2 and finished number 13 and just missed out on the playoff and say, hey, let's come back one more year and right this wrong. But yeah, you're going to lose some players. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. And I will say Florida State's done a good job through the first few years of the portal. I don't think they've lost very many guys that they wanted to keep. Now, some of that is overpaying. Some of that is they did have a good culture. And I will say this, I still think the culture's fairly fine. The team's not any good, but I don't think we've seen guys quit. Maybe they quit in the second half of the SMU game, but they haven't quit yet. And that's good.
Nope.
Hopefully, I mean, I am certainly worried about that Saturday night, but I think the culture is pretty good, and that'll help you some with this situation. But yeah, I think that it is a concern, but they've done a good job so far of retaining guys. They've done a good job of not letting the portal just absolutely ravage them. I mean, there was, after the 2022 season, Miami tampered with the entire defensive line, and you were able to shut that down, and you were able to keep them, and obviously that's why you were able to be really good in 2023, because you kept those guys. But I think it's coming, and I think it's something that Florida State's going to have to prepare for, and it's just another layer of this, kind of make it PG so the kids can listen. The crap sandwich that you're eating right now, it's just another condiment on top of that. So, all right, we were going to talk a little bit about, just thoughts on what the heck Florida State did during the bye week.